Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome to Guns N' Roses Central. And today we're talking about 10 things you didn't know about the Don't Cry music video. So this is the first song of the music trilogy that Guns N' Roses filmed for the Use Your Illusion albums. And let's talk about some things that you guys may not know about the music video. And as always guys, make sure you comment in the comment section below if I missed anything or if you know some additional facts. So number one, at the end of the Don't Cry music video, you see the message, "There's a lot going on, PS, thanks Joseph." So what does that mean? Well, here's Axl explaining the meaning behind it.
Welcome back. We're just getting going here with Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses. I'm Bob Coburn. It's Rockline, a 2-hour special edition. The number's toll-free 1-800-344-ROCK. That is the number that Vonnie called. She's in Indiana, Pennsylvania, listening to 97 Rock in Pittsburgh. Indiana, Pennsylvania. Hey, yeah. Vonnie, you're on the Rockline.
Hi, Axl. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
I had noticed that at the beginning of the Don't Cry video, little baby started out, he had blue eyes. And then at the end, he had green, and then there was the message, "There's a lot going on. P.S. Thanks, Joseph."
Yeah.
Who's Joseph, and what's the purpose with the eyes?
Well, the eyes, it was different babies, and it was meant to be that it was two different people, you know, and it was like birth and rebirth, and it was meant to show that, you know, and we just used green eyes because I have green eyes, and there's a lot going on. It means that there's a lot more going on in the world than most people think or care to realize. And Joseph was the guy who, you know, Don't Cry was his favorite song, and he's a DJ out here in Hollywood that keeps a lot of bands alive and keeps people listening to them, and, you know, a bit alternative and a bit hard rock, and he works in all the hard rock clubs. And he had got our song, Don't Cry, to the record company in the beginning, and I didn't feel that anybody that he had helped had really thanked him enough. And I knew if I put it on there, it'd be permanent, and if I didn't put his last name, his name's Joseph Brooks, people would like, "Oh, who's Joseph?"
Yeah. Good for you for doing that and giving somebody else some recognition. Vonnie, thanks for the call. And yes, there is an Indiana, Pennsylvania.
Number two, the woman that you see in the Don't Cry video with Axl was his therapist, Suzy London, and she actually toured with the band during the Use Your Illusion tour. This is a picture of her and Axl in Israel in May of 1993. Number three, the actual rooftop scenes that you guys see in the Don't Cry music video where the band is performing the song was actually shot in downtown Los Angeles on a building called the Transamerica Center. It's now called the AT&T Center. Number four, Guns N' Roses got in trouble with the city of Los Angeles when filming the actual rooftop scenes of the Transamerica Center. So according to Peter Barron, he said Andy Morahan shot part of Don't Cry on top of the Transamerica Center in downtown LA. We had 2 helicopters, it was mayhem. We got in a lot of trouble from the city because we completely stalled traffic on a Friday night. Number five, Andy Morahan, who was one of the directors, basically said that Stephanie Seymour and Axl were lovey-dovey on the first video for Don't Cry, and he said basically Stephanie had no shame cuddling up to Axl in front of me and saying, "Hey, why don't you work with some really big Hollywood directors? Thanks Steph, I love you too." Peter Barron also went on to say, when the Don't Cry shoot finally ended, I got on a freight elevator by myself to go down to my car. I pressed the button, and just as the doors start to close, who walks in but Axl and Stephanie Seymour, and they proceed to make out. I'm not going to say he was dry humping her, but he was dry humping her. He just did not care that there was someone else in the elevator. He was a rock star, and he was having a rock star moment. Number six, the scene at the beginning of the music video where Axl and Stephanie Seymour are fighting over a gun actually was based on something that happened to Axl. So he commented on how the difficulty of filming the video and how certain scenes inspired by the relationship of Aaron Everly affected him emotionally. So Axl said, with our video for Don't Cry and that fight that Stephanie Seymour and I had over the gun, you don't necessarily know what's going on, but in real life that happened with Aaron Everly, who was Axl's ex-wife, and myself. I was going to shoot myself, we fought over the gun, and I finally let her win. I was kind of mentally crippled after that. Before shooting our documentary, I said, this seems really hard because it really happened, and the night we wrote that scene, my friend Josh said, okay, how are you going to play that? He wanted to rehearse, and I was like, look, leave me alone, but he kept pushing me until I finally stood up. I had the cigarette lighter that looked like a real gun, and I said, look, I'm going to do it like this, and I just went over and slammed around in the hallway a bit and threw the gun and said, is that good enough for you? Number seven, the scenes where Slash is driving in a car with a girl screaming at him got pretty intense, so according to Slash, the girl was actually hitting him for real. Slash had to try to fend her off while at the same time keeping his eyes on the road.